Welcome back to the garage. For today, a little bit different thing for our game teach. This is a little more personal, I guess. This is a game that I made recently, and should be a pretty short teach because the game is very straightforward. This was inspired by the record collection 2K21, which is a game jam about making solo games, solo role-playing games or tabletop or video game based on your favorite records. So I had no intention of this game, before, like no inkling of this game before I just happened to see a post about this game jam. This was my first ever game jam that I was a part of, and I immediately thought of a record that's really meant a lot to me, and that is Beck's Morning Phase. So this record came out when I was finishing up my doctorate at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, for anyone in the Midwest, and it just sort of completely blew me away. Before that, I had been listening to Beck for a long time, growing up on alternative radio stations, but also, at house parties in undergrad, Midnight Vultures, and things like that were just always on as dance party stuff. So it was, Beck has kind of been with me for a long time, and Morning Phase just came out of, at least to me, because I wasn't really tracking it, the production of it. When it came out, it just sort of came out of left field, and I fell in love with it. It was really meaningful. That was a time when I was in my third year of my doctorate, but also the third year of being long distance with my now wife, my then girlfriend. We started long distance because we're crazy, and it's just a really wonderful record. It was part of our wedding. A couple different songs from it. And I still listen to it to this day, and it's just from beginning to end just fantastic. So for the game design, it just kind of came fully formed, sprang into my head, the opposite of Zeus. And so we came with Morning Phase, a solo game of nostalgia cartography for reflection and appreciation. So the entire idea of this game is that you walk through prompts. There's a prompt for each track, and you listen to the album, and you can listen for the entirety of each track. You can listen for as long as it takes you to think of your answer to the prompt and write it down, or you can listen to it multiple times. There's only one time when it's time sensitive, and that is the first one, because the whole point of this is, it is, like it says, nostalgia cartography, and nostalgia is something that's difficult to create. It's something that has to come on its own. So the first track is short. It's just the instrumental intro, and that's where you kind of have to decide on what period of time in your life that you often reflect on happily or positively do you want to explore. And then with each successive track, there is that prompt, which the instructions instruct you to not read ahead, so you're not thinking about answers, to pre-create, your narrative. Just kind of let your brain kind of wander around through these memories. And I've done it a couple times now. My wife has done it. The person who helped me set the text has done it. I've heard from people online that they've done it. And if you do it right and you don't read ahead, there are moments of genuine nostalgia, genuine kind of your brain just sort of alights on something that you may not have thought of ever, or at least in a really, really long time. It is a pretty personal experience. So I'm not going to be doing a playthrough. I won't be showing you any details of my map, but I will kind of give you a blurred image to show you what it looks like. Yeah, so let's take a look. Okay, so right off the bat, the cover is a beautiful picture which is courtesy of Kavre Studios. They just posted a picture, kind of a wake up in the morning, look how great the world is, and I fell in love with it. Obviously, morning works really well. So thank you for letting me use your picture. It really added a lot. So the game itself is very short. It is 2 pages of instructions and then 2 pages of the prompts. So you don't need to even have a color printer to do this. You definitely don't need to get this bound, but you know, I just enjoyed having this game out there. Yeah, I will go over the flavor text at the end for those who are more interested in how the game works. As you go through, the game is going to be talking about a couple terms you're going to hear often, which are the field and artifacts within the field. So the field is this time period that you are exploring. That could be, you know, in college, that could be high school, that could be your first job, that could be your first marriage, whatever it may be. So the field is kind of this temporal zone, and artifacts are anything that take place within that zone. People you knew, events you took part in, you know, objects you had, or places you lived, or just memories from that time. And the whole idea is you're going to map and connect these artifacts that the prompts are going to elicit from you. For each of the artifacts, you're going to have to, every time you put one down on the page, think, does this connect to all the others that are on the page already? Some of them won't, which is what it is. And then there are 3 colors, which I left generic for today. I meant to get purple. Apparently I have blue, teal, and orange. So I left it generic for colors you like, colors that might be inspired by the field, colors that might be inspired by your emotions about it, whatever it may be. So color 1 is going to be, these artifacts appeared together and coexisted. So they were together in some way. Color 2, one of these artifacts led to the other. And color 3 is one of these artifacts entered when the other left. So these are important. You get to choose them in the instructions. They are kept generic. Color 1, 2, and 3. They're up to you. Okay, and then I'm just kind of going through this quickly. Again, it's 4 pages. It is free on itch. It is also, I forgot to say this up front, it is $10 as part of Solo But Not Alone, a bundle of games on itch for $10, which the proceeds will go to Jasper's Game Day for suicide awareness and prevention. So it's as free as you want it to be, and for $10 you get 87 games, and it goes to a good cause. So for each track, as you listen to the album, there's a little bit of, I was about to say flavor text, lyrics, and then the actual instructions. So I'm not going to read them all, actually very few of them, because again, I don't want, if you're interested in this game, if you're interested in looking into some sort of something you're nostalgic about, I want you to get the full experience. And by that I mean I don't want to spoil what you're going to be asked to come up with, because some of them are positive, some of them could be sad, and lots in the gray area in between. And that discovery as you go through is part of the process. So I'll just read you the first one. So Cycle, instrumental introductory track to the album. Identify a period of time in your life you often reflect back on fondly. Label the top of the page with this. This is not an artifact to be connected. So as you go through, on the front, I suppose I should say what you need for this. Obviously, you need the instructions. You need access to Beck's album Morning Phase. That's what it's based on. You need the music and means to listen to it. A blank piece of paper, probably at least 8.5 by 11. Fine tip writing utensil for text, and 3 different colored highlighters or markers or pens or pencils, your choice. Okay, so, you know, you could say, high school. That'd be going back pretty far. Not that far, but pretty far. So this is your answer to the first one. This is you identifying the field. This is not going to be connected. As we go through the rest of these, we would be for each one. As I zoom in, I'm just going to cover these up so I'm not giving you anything away. You would say, and then for me, the way I did it on mine is I would make it in a little bubble. And the first one obviously is not going to get connected to anything. There's nothing else there. But as soon as you write the second one down, at that point, these might be connected, they might not. Let's say they are, and you say, these existed together. So that's the orange one. Then the next one comes down. This one's connected, but that one isn't. This ended to make that one, or this ended when that one started. And you have this one. So with each one, as you proceed, there may be a connection to one or more of them already on the board. So it's going to get more time intensive as you go through. Okay, so this is pretty generic, obviously. I just made lines, made connections. You may not have as many connections as these. You may have something closer to this, where there are some that there are actually literally no connections. They are not connected. They answered one of the prompts, but they were not connected to any of the other things. You may have something like this, versus mine, where the vast majority coexisted. Very few started when the other ended, or, you know, what was the other category? I made the game. All right, led to the other, right. So it may not be this busy, but the whole process is to investigate these connections. You may not have ever really thought of two things leading to the other. You may have, lumped these together, but never realized that there is one way over here that connected to them as well. And the whole process is a way to re-experience this time in your life in a very different way. Nostalgia sort of hits when you see something that reminds you of it. It kind of comes and goes as it pleases, and that's about it. Which you can obviously, as soon as you're actually nostalgic for something, have this game on hand and kick right off into it. But by choosing this, your field in that time-gated first track, and then actually going through the rest in real time without thinking or reading ahead, it does kind of create this false sense of nostalgia where you are emergently piecing these things together. And it can be a pretty challenging experience. There were a few times where I was close to, if not actually crying, while going through mine, and my wife said the same thing. So it is something that's there to kind of help you process, to enjoy it, hopefully overall, because I suppose you could do it with a time that you really don't like, but the instructions do say a time that you do enjoy, or you think back on fondly, rather. Though it's totally up to you how you use it. I made the game, but now it is yours if you download it to make with what you will. So that's Morning Phase. It was an honor for me to work with an album so meaningful to me in this way. I was really thankful to be inspired by the game jam. I was even more thankful to be welcomed into this solo but not alone game bundle that again is available through, I think, March. They're raising money for this wonderful cause. Super grateful to my good friend who set all the text, which I'm putting in some screenshots of his just like code that he uses to set that text, and it's like wild. So I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes of word processors. So that is Morning Phase. I promise I won't inundate this channel with teaching you about games that I made myself, because this is the only one that I've actually brought to fruition. I have a number of others that are in various states of unfinishedness, but It was a lot of fun to make. It was really meaningful to go through this as a player, not just a creator. So, like I said, it's as free as you want it to be. Go check it out if you're interested. The first section, why are we here? Nostalgia is often triggered by a specific something, someplace, or someone that transports the mind back into memory. In some instances, this can broaden into remembering other details surrounding the catalyst. But more often than not, nostalgia simply fades away as a single thought misplaced in time. This experience is designed to provide a framework to create a kind of map in order to navigate a specific time period of nostalgia. For our purposes here, this period of time will be referred to as the field. Each track on the record, you are given a prompt to identify a detail from the field that fits the description. These are the artifacts that provide texture and context to the nostalgia. And then we went over the instructions. So I'm just going to go to the final part of the instruction entitled, Then What? Upon completion of a nostalgia map, you are met with a couple final decisions. The first being whether to keep or to discard it. There's a case to be made for both paths. On one hand, you could keep it around and maybe even slowly add to your collection of maps to return to from time to time. But on the other, you could dispose of it after sufficient reflection and simply let it fade away and return to on its own terms later on. Neither is wrong. The second decision is whether to reach out to those this experience reminded you of, or to simply appreciate their role in the process alone. Again, neither is right nor wrong. Finally, feel free to return to this experience whenever you'd like to explore another field. Obviously, as part of the instruction is to not read or think too far ahead. This is not something you would want to just like back to back multiple plays, but it absolutely is something you can return to later on to get the experience again for, again, another field. And yeah, it means a lot to me. Hopefully for anyone interested, it will mean just as much to you for the experience. So thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by the Game Garage. We'll see you next time.